What did you hate the most about school? Being graded on coming up with questions to ask other people during a timed group presentation. Oh god, this was always awful. I had repressed this. When the teacher says you couldn't go to the bathroom because be reacti me was 5 minutes ago. For literally any grade. It doesn't make sense, especially with younger grades. When a 6-year-old says they need to go to the bathroom, it's not a question. It's a warning. In kindergarten, we went outside to play, but I suddenly had to go to the bathroom. When I asked the teacher to open the door so I can go, she said, "You should have gone when we were inside." But me's, I didn't have to go then. Well, you can wait till you get home. It was the end of the day, so I tried waiting, but I couldn't. And that's the story of the one and only time I shut my pants in school. Please tell me the teacher faced some repercussions. Nope. I peed myself in school because the school was almost over. The nice thing was that my classmate did not make fun of me and pretend that the water was from the thermosiphon next to me. They were nice kids. Oh, I had a girl in first grade, elementary school teacher, who peed herself during arts lesson. She just was so into painting that she didn't notice she had to go. The girl next to her noticed, and for the other ones we told them she spilled her water for her watercolors. I sent her to change into her gym clothes and cleaned up a little. It was the last lesson of the day and almost time to clean up for everybody anyways. I talked to her quite loud that she need to be more aware of her water container next time we're painting. When she came back, and she got the hint and played along. Busy work. Shut that obviously provides no learning benefit, but that teachers feel the need to make you do anyways. Looking at you. Every dumb diorama I had to put together in grammar school. Ugh, the busy work. My school has this bullshit called brain breakfast, which is just work you have to do during breakfast, aka right when we get in, to prepare us for class, even though they just don't want us to talk. The fact that decades after graduation, I still have nightmares that I'm taking a test and don't know the answers. I love that bit in Avatar, The Last Airbender, and I'm wearing pants. When teachers punish a whole class because of the actions of one/a few students, just because the class idiot can't behave, it does not mean I should miss my break. This is so annoying. Hey, there is 250 people in this cafeteria, and since 2 of them can't listen, you all don't get free seating for the rest of the month. So fun story about a thing that almost happened at my school. There were fights every once and a while, and usually it was just 2 people who were mad at each other. Now before I go any further, I should explain how lunch works at my school. We have an hour for lunch, and what you can do is that you can go to tutoring with one of your teachers during lunch if you have to make up a test, you want to do the homework early, or you just need help with something. Honestly, amazing system that really helps struggling students with attainments. Anyway, what they were going to do, since there were fights happening too often, was that they were going to remove it completely from the system and do a thing where we had lunch for like 20 minutes, I think. Then go back into the classroom you just came from for another 20 minutes. Once again, that time could be wrong, but still. And then go back to the cafeteria for the last 20. Have no ducking clue how that would have helped anything at all, but they were planning on doing it. Then the pandemic hit and everything else happened. The homework, because apparently 7 hours of school isn't enough. My greatest discovery was realizing that we do so little during those 7 hours that I could actually just do the homework in class most of the time. This is why I never had math homework in high school. I'd look at the homework on the board at the beginning of class and do it while everyone else was taking notes or whatever they did. In my school, you're not allowed to do homework in class. That's fucking stupid. Just remember, it isn't forever. Before you know it, you get to deal with a whole new level of stupidity out here in the real world. The unfairness. I grew up in a rural area. My high school was the only one in the county, and we had maybe 300 students total. I got into university and was suddenly in class with kids who had attended public school in the same state and were //years // ahead of me. I remember being in calculus, where my classmates were bored out of their minds, while I was struggling. Now I'm a mom and I hear people talking disparagingly about the schools in that neighborhood or those people, and realize there's not much changed. John Kennedy said, "All of us do not have equal talent, but all of us should have an equal opportunity to develop those talents." It's a nice dream, but it doesn't exist in reality in the US. I went to school all through 10th grade in Phoenix, moved to a rural town, and was being taught the same exact stuff I learned in 9th grade while in Phoenix, while being in 11th grade here in the rural town. It was crazy. Teacher here, the thing I hate the most is when kids come to school hungry, with dirty clothes, or on edge first thing in the morning, because they've had a shitty night. Breaks your heart. The best thing to do is greet every student. Treat them with kindness, but not pity, and keep a good stash of healthy snacks in your butt room. You're a good teacher. Thanks man. I don't always feel like a good teacher, but I always try my best. BC the kids deserve it. There are lots of ways to be a good teacher, and it sounds like you're one of them. Being lost in a subject and not being able to catch back up. Had that happen to me in algebra, and it eventually got so horrible trying to keep up with the juniors and seniors. I was a freshman. I ended up just sleeping in that little butt and spending every night doing my homework 3 times over. The amount of hours I'm expected to put into it and still have time for extracurriculars and 8 hours of sleep, and the backlash I get when that didn't happen. Like, I'm sorry, it's not my fault that after 7 hours of school, all 8 of my teachers expect me to set aside an hour for their subject alone after I get home, since to each of them, no other subject is nearly as important or matters at all. But that I don't even get home until 6 PM or even 8:30 PM on certain days of the week, since I need to represent the school in academics, athletics, and the arts. And that once I do get home, I have 2 dogs and 2 siblings to care for and help with their schoolwork before I can even do my own and care for my own body, before finally getting to bed and starting the day again. I apologize for finally getting to bed around 4 AM and not getting 8 hours of sleep. I've been a bit busy trying to not flunk out of high school, please my parents and colleges, and taking care of the people and pets in my life that can't take care of themselves on their own. My bad. My bad. You can only use their designated days off, and if you miss a day then you're behind for like the rest of the week. The other students. School is probably where a lot of my spiteful attitude stems from. The bullying by both other kids, but also the teachers. One of my teachers ended up basically blackmailing me. Can we have a story with a teacher? You can leave out what you don't want to share. It's probably not the way you think it is, but my bud teacher used to hate me, just as she hated my father when he went to the same school. It's maybe a bit complicated, but in Germany, after your first 4 years you will get sent to different schools depending on your grades. And I got sent to the highest, gymnasium. I wasn't really a good student, mostly because I was a lazy duck, but I would have butted. Yet my teacher decided that she didn't want me anymore and called my parents and told them that they have a few days to get me off that school and sent me to a different one, a lower one, a Realschule, or she will straight up forge bad grades onto my report and have me kicked out. After that I went to a Realschule for 3 years just to get told that I should go back to a gymnasium. That sounds completely awful, and I'm really sorry for you considering I'm also a German with some older and just downright unfair teachers. Ich hoffe nicht so unfair wie in meinem Fall. The school system is old as shit. Kids are horrible. Teachers do not get paid enough to care. Okay, which is worst? The teachers having to deal with the students or the janitors that gotta clean up the fishy bathrooms and the crunched on the floor food in the lunchroom? Rather be a janitor for a public school than a public transportation hub. Have you seen the bathrooms at the Port Authority bus terminal in New York City? Yes. I always make sure me and whoever coming outside with me uses the bathroom first, because those bathrooms are disgusting. It's like walking into a horror movie. TBH, if I had a fight in those bathrooms, and if I fall then I lost the fight, because whatever I fell on is going to slowly kill me anyway. I hate how learning is turned into a competition where grades are prizes. For instance, instead of the teacher being proud of every student for learning, it seems like the attention is only on the best kids, which I support as well, but each child should be encouraged. I have this example of my math teacher. I went to high school program which mainly focused on math and science, and he had this theory that only the minority of the best could have an A. He thought that the most of the class should have a C and a few an F. I agree with this distribution in general, because not everyone can be the best, but we were in a program specifically for studying math, and we all knew math better than our peers. Furthermore, those grades were playing a huge part in our university application, and I can objectively say that we were the best math students in the region. Yet my grades were much worse than of someone who was from the student from the other school. But it didn't matter what school I went to because the grades were what mattered, not a knowledge. Furthermore, every classmate of mine fought for the grade and we started hating each other, and we started hating math. This so-called competition discouraged us in pursuing math career and made us bitter. It took me a while to start loving science again. I still don't like math. The hell kind of system is this? Like you, I agree in principle of such distribution, but it should be achieved by raising the bar of the A level. But what baffles me more, grades of one subjective teacher determining your college aspirations. Sorry, this seems like an institutional blunder. Where I went to school, in general the science and math departments made papers which were generally of a higher standard than the common final exam that all high school students would write. So you would often find that a lot of people who would have gotten into a university on preliminary marks from the end of grade 11 just wouldn't, because the testing standards were not the same for each school. It did prepare people for the grade 12 final paper, since that was easier than what we'd practice, but it kind of left an issue where people's marks didn't correlate to what people at other schools would get for their non-finals exams. Then, honestly, I would find it better to discard grading completely. If this is an additional paper to the exam, even exceeding it, then the mark of A or B, or whatever itself is pointless. At least as a dean or whoever's responsible for school applications in your country, I would be stumped as to what these end marks mean, and how do I compare them with the qualifications of applicant that hasn't had the same learning options as you've had. What matters here is an exhaustive list of skills that the student has demonstrated in the class. But sorry if I'm being too pussy here, but this senseless student dooming BS is what I can't stand. There have been remarks from the Minister of Education in my country that high school grades should be counted when applying to institutions of higher education, and that I find so wrong. Just having to wake up early, to be honest, even made worse when the hardest class of the day was the first class of the day. Made even worse when there was a test/quiz and I'm forced to think with my sleepy brain. Seriously, I wouldn't mentally wake up until at least 11:00 a.m. This method of waking up early has undoubtedly decided some life pathways. In retrospect, it's annoying to think that I may have done better in some class if they simply happened later in the day. The first class of the day I usually was too tired to give a duck about, and my energy levels went up after second period. Also, that a different teacher might have been more adept at the material or somehow would have connected better to me with my learning styles. Like the realization that components of my education came down to actual ducking luck of the draw at times is infuriating. What did I miss or falter on because the administration decided to place me in a morning math class duck? In college I found out about evening class. 3 hours of class with a 15-minute break in the middle. My grades increased an entire letter/grade point because you couldn't skip class and you were actually awake. Why in the hell are math class always at 8 AM when you're half dead? I have no idea, but I also had maths first thing for an entire year, immediately followed by history also, so that didn't help. For some reason, my children have so much more homework today than I had growing up. Society complains about kids being inside so much and not getting exercise, being on devices, etc. But look past the fact that they have to do 3 to 8 pages of Common Core math, read 20 pages, and do a 5-paragraph essay, study for a test every night, and have to have a perfect wardrobe. Hell, I went to school in pajamas sometimes. I skipped all my homework, learned what I wanted to learn about astrophysics, learned how to do flips on my trampoline for a few hours every day, got really bad grades, and then went to community college for engineering, then transferred to a bigger university and changed my major to physics. Now I'm a senior in college, about to graduate with a B.S. in physics, minoring in math and astronomy, higher grades than I've had in my life. The low grades in high school massively harmed my self-confidence. And it was even worse because of the pressure my parents put on me to get good grades. But high pressure is demotivating to me, so I basically just gave up on high school, all combined. I'm happier with the way I did it than if I had sat and learned what I was forced to learn. Although, I don't encourage the method I did. It might not work out for everyone. That's the sort of life plan I hear about, and sort of hate the person who went through it, because if I tried that, my butt would be out on the street. Honestly, my school life was the least of my worries at the time. I had 2 older brothers, and I have always been the smallest of them, and they had some sick ducked up need to bully me whenever they saw me, so I was always too scared when they were home. My oldest brother was in college, and my middle brother did sports, so I would bounce on my trampoline right after school before they got home, because it was the only time I had that I'd be safe enough to do so. When I was 9, my oldest brother pushed me off a trampoline, which broke my arm. Compound fracture. Bone went through the skin. So when they got home, I basically just did my best to keep a low profile and stay away from them. I could write several comments about all the things they've done. It's just some random bullshit you can teach yourself, but the moment you stop listening, teachers flip out and say you should concentrate on important information. The rigidity of my high school. There was no allowances made on the rules, even if the situation was out of our control. An example, one year there was widespread bus strikes, making taking public transport almost impossible. Majority of the students, including me, relied on getting a bus to school. In Buttonbly, the principal announced that, while they were informed of the strike, any student that was late to school would be punished. We brought it up with our form organizers, and they just shrugged and said to make a plan. Not everyone had parents that could take them to school in the mornings, or pick them up, or have the resources to afford a carpool transport system. Other situations were numerous: wearing the wrong color hair tie, rolling up our jersey sleeves, backpacks weren't navy blue, nitpicking on the smallest things, and then saying it would prepare us for life. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you want more videos, don't forget to like and subscribe. You are helping me a lot. Thanks again.